to know, probably from you earlier first, is, when you see companies like these, what are you gauging? What are you looking for? What are some of the questions that you're trying to answer? Tarek Fouad from Shorooq Partners. Thank you so much for tuning into this podcast, Game On, specifically dedicated to gaming and the entertainment business, brought to you by Shorooq Partners, the leading tech investor in the Middle East and North Africa and Pakistan. We're here with, friends of ours. So Ilya from the Games Fund, Gregory, the Games Fund, and Invest Game, and obviously we have Anton from My Games and Invest Game. Both, or all three of them, come with tremendous amount of experience and know-how, and we'll be looking forward to kind of getting a quick chat on, what is Web3 games and what do VCs look for when it comes to Web3 games, and just kind of maybe a quick round around the table here. Probably I'll start with you, Elia, if you can quickly kind of introduce yourself and what the Games Fund is.
Sure. So my name is Ilya. I'm one of the co-founders and one of the managing partners of the Games Fund. And the Games Fund is a $50 million US-based venture fund focused on solely on video games industry. And so do you guys want me to start sharing my?
Yeah, as you wish. Yeah. That was nice and short and sweet, but feel free to add if you want.
Yeah, that's it. That's about it about the Games Fund.
Love it. Gregory.
So yeah, hello everyone. My name is Gregory Bortnik. I'm investment manager in the Games Fund, and also I'm editor-in-chief of Invest Game. And Leah already told you about the Games Fund, so just a little bit brief about Invest Game. We're an analytical platform which take all the data, all the deals which happened in the gaming industry, and we're preparing as a weekly digest of all deals which comes, and also preparing analytical materials regarding quarters, half years, and annual investment climates in gaming. That's brief about it.
Love it. And finally, Anton, who's joining us even with an operation that he's going to go through end of today. So talk about commitment, man. Amazing.
Just
Anton,
you guys.
give
Just
us your
for you.
bit.
Just for you. Yeah, a pleasure to be here again. Thank you guys, and happy to see my ex-colleagues and current colleagues as well. So yeah, I work at My Games, and I'm currently switching the roles, and I used to be responsible for Jesus. I'm sorry, guys. That's my fault.
It's okay.
I'm currently changing the role. So I used to be in charge of media projects, and I'm not gonna be sharing another role right now, a bit later. And I'm also the co-founder of Invest Game. So Grisha has just told us about the project. I'll just add that apart from the quarterly reports and the annual reports and the weekly digests, we also thoroughly analyze gaming deals. And we are, I don't want to brag, but we are kind of, we're proud of Invest Game as the best source, probably, gaming deals data on the market.
I can vouch for that. Thank you so much,
right.
Anton. Shameless plug there. Love it. There's guys, a quick, I would say, maybe starting point is we've seen the gaming industry kind of evolve over the past few years, and more specifically within the region, and then this notion towards Web3 games, and what does that mean in a sense. So I would love to kind of start off first, and maybe this is, with anyone here, feel free to kind of shoot first. But when we say Web3, and specifically when it comes to games, what are we referring to? Can we align on a definition of what Web3 games are?
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually complicated because the terminology is not, set for the industry yet. So everyone is thinking about Web3 in their own way. But from my perspective, Web3 means that players owns items, owns content, owns valuables inside the games. And in like kind of Web2, it kind of actually have nothing to do with web, like internet technology. It's conception on ownership of the content. So in Web2 games, all the content being owned by the platform owners, like by game creators, and the conception of Web3 that players could actually own assets inside the game. So I think that's main ideological, main philosophical change in this paradigm of gaming. But
Yeah.
also, people refer to Web3 games as blockchain games, play to earn
Mm,
games,
true.
metaverse, all stuff like that.
Would you agree, Gregory? And anything that we're missing here?
No, I totally agree with Leah, but for me, the key question here is when you own something in one game, how you want to use it in other games or how you want to sell it. Because currently, it's looks a little bit similar that already had in Steam when you could, buy a chest in a CS:GO or Dota 2 and you already own some, I don't know, like weapon, and you can also sell it in a Steam platform. So it's not Web3 or any sort of NFT stuff, but currently you have the same idea,
Yeah.
but the future, the biggest idea and big dream is to use this in other games, but it's too
Transfer
much
that asset
complicated.
to
Yes,
it.
yes,
Yeah.
but it's too much
Yeah.
complicated because of it's you have different code in different games, you have different name of this product. It is item and how you want to use it in different games. It's still a key question which we still don't know how to solve actually.
So it's interesting. Usually, you guys probably would remember, but like 5 or 10 years ago, everybody that wanted to look extra sexy would say my business is on blockchain, and it
Mhm.
was an amazing hype towards building anything on blockchain. And if they wanted to be even more sexy, they would throw crypto in.
Mhm.
And it's literally every single startup pitch would be something on blockchain with crypto. And it kind of with Web3 game movement, it does seem like we're still in the upward cycle of the hype curve. I'm not sure from your own experiences, do you see still us kind of trying to figure out what Web3 games are and whereabouts are we in that hype? And where, why did we reach here? How did that evolve, right? Where did we come from? Why is there this notion of Web3 games?
So
Go ahead, Anton.
yeah, thanks. If I may, so first, I totally agree with the guys here on the definition of Web3. It seems like many people are just putting all the eggs in the same basket with this, and play to earn gaming, and digital ownership, and the metaverse, and whatever you name it. And as for the for the curve, we've recently released the Q1 and Q2 2022 gaming deals report, and we have a special section there dedicated to blockchain gaming. And as many of you might know, we're currently experiencing crypto winter, maybe. Not sure whether it's ended or
Autumn.
yeah. Okay, crypto.
Yeah,
So,
we
and
want it. We want it to be open.
we definitely see this in the database we have, because we are seeing the total deal number declining very much, and the total deal value um, declining as well. So it seems like VCs who were super excited, and the startup founders and the gaming founders who were excited last year and maybe 2 years before, about the prospects of blockchain and of the play to earn, and now kind of pulling backwards maybe a little bit on that. And you might have heard the news that the Andreessen Horowitz crypto fund is minus 40% currently
Yeah,
on all of its portfolio.
yeah,
So it seems like the crypto rush is over, and people are now more thorough and more wise when it comes to assessing the projects and their perspectives. But it doesn't necessarily mean that crypto is dead or crypto gaming is dead. It's just that nobody has yet done a killer game with the technology used in it. Well, that's my take. And I'm not saying that it's possible, but no.
We're kind of, there is still time to reach to that kind of killer game, but I'm interested in kind of getting your take, Ilya and Gregory. As you guys see deals through the games fund, there is probably in each and every 5 deals, there is at least one of them that is play to earn, that is doing something on blockchain or raising tokens. Just curious on what appealed users and what appealed developers to actually go down that route rather than taking the traditional route in a sense.
Actually,
Yeah,
that's a
so-
really good question. I mean, we had a lot of in our pipeline, and also a lot of studios or companies which developing games in Web3. And from my side, I think I have 2 visions. So first, it's a studios who was developing games on Web2, like classical game, but because game was not so successful or studio couldn't raise money, they thought, okay, let's add some blockchain Web3 things, and then we will be successful, or maybe some other funds will invest in us. But unfortunately, mostly it won't change the game. It won't change the whole perspective. Second, it's company studios who actually don't have any experience in gaming, most of them. But it's like white collars who understand that, okay, we already raise money and make some successful businesses. When they see a new hype train, why we do not also enter it and we will make new game? But we don't know about games a lot, but come on, it's just a game. It's not so hard to make it. And third, it's developers who already had some really good experience in game development and they have really solid background, but they thought, okay, let's try to, make some sort of experiment. So let's try to enter the Web3 market and understand how it actually could work. And it's probably the most interesting, discussions with them because they know a lot about gaming, how to develop games, and just not about economics and about blockchain. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ilya.
Exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
I second what just said, and we have about 20-25% of our deal flow is somehow connected to Web3 and blockchain gaming. But the games fund does not invest in Web3 games for now. But we're actively exploring this niche on a personal level and from just discovery level. And there's an interesting trend. So if a year ago, or maybe a bit less, there've been this trend for companies trying to raise non-dilutive rounds. So they've been offering just tokens to the investors.
Yeah, correct.
With up to some crypto funds and some generalist funds making crypto investments as well. So even the crypto funds, they not invest in tokens, in just tokens. So right now, and they have to have kind of equity plus tokens or just equity. So no non-dilutive rounds anymore. That's turned out to be not sustainable thing.
Quite dangerous. Yeah.
Quite dangerous.
Yeah.
And still, even the crypto funds, like 100% focus on crypto, they don't clearly understand how to deal with, two kind of, forms of equity, and like what should be the connection between equity in the company and tokens, and how to regulate that. And because there could be different number of and different list of investors. Someone owns tokens, someone owns equity, someone owns tokens and equity. And how to govern such company, how to calculate the value of such company, it's super complicated. And even specialized guys who clearly like they have millions of hundreds of millions of dollars under management, and they don't understand clearly how to deal with that issue, like leave alone all the system problems with earn games and economies that are super suffering from super inflation, and 99% of them Ponzi schemes, and there are some deep design issues. For instance, that case that we mentioned, before, transferring items between games, is impossible on logical level, right? It's not technically impossible. It's you cannot just take your sword from World of Warcraft and use it in Counter-Strike, and vice versa. And the only way how to do that, either you could use item from some specific game in some sort of metaverse, like in Ready Player One, like you got your sword from World of Warcraft, and you could just show it off in some virtual space in the metaverse, or you could transfer value. So you could convert the item into some sort of hard currency on a meta level, and then get that currency inside other game and buy some stuff inside this game. So you transfer not
Interesting.
item, you transfer
Yeah.
value.
Mm. It's a very, very nice point that you bring up earlier here. It actually opens up a discussion on, probably I understand that the use case around Web3 games was to kind of give more power to the users to own pieces of the game they like, and to get them invested, and kind of understand that from a consumer perspective, provided obviously the game is still fun to play. You don't want to end up with another Axie Infinity in a sense. But that said, are we ready, and are studios ready from a technical standpoint to actually adopt Web3 games? And what do we need? Like, you just brought up one challenge, and what does it mean to actually transfer one item between one game and another? But that's only that item. Is there, technology layer and the financing layer ready to actually adopt this? And what is needed to change?
It's actually not a technological challenge. There is no technological challenge. It's a design and mental challenge. How to design the system, how to design rules, and technologically, industry, I think it's far more advanced than the design part of it. So we have two kind of crises here. It's a high entry barrier with all these obstacles to start playing Web3 games, because you have to register your crypto wallet, you have to buy cryptocurrency somehow, and it's really, really complicated right now. And the second one is we lack understanding what kind of games should we have in Web3. I believe that no one is understands right now, but we will figure it out, like in a couple of years. But every game that I saw that is development right now, it lacks some basic understanding of video games development principles and player motivations. So it's just pure R&D and experimentation, and I don't think that we'll have any playable and mass adopted games in Web3 in following year or two.
Gregory, Anton, would love to hear your input as well on this.
Yeah, just
Uh,
that
Go
I
ahead.
also agree with Leah, but regarding what kind of games could be interesting, actually, we had several already, I don't know, good examples how it could work. For example, Overwatch. I mean, the same game, same characters, and if you can just like move items from one game to another, maybe some skins or weapon, it could be a good idea. And probably from my point of view, it's mostly should be the same game. I mean, the same genre, for example, or same.
Or a
Uh,
series, yeah.
yeah, because for example, if it's not a series and you make, for example, action and have to make RPG or strategy, it will be really hard to implement all these items which you already own to another game. Will be just really hard to make it.
Yeah, yeah, does make sense.
There's
Um,
one trend, and
yeah,
there's
go
one
ahead.
ownership of the content. So it's kind of also a misunderstanding what NFTs are. You don't actually own the item. You own the link, like
Yeah.
address a link to the cell where is some content. And now there'll be a gun. Next time there could be like developer change their mind, and now the picture of the cat. And you cannot do anything about that. You still own the address, you still own the link, but you don't own the content. And the whole kind of conception of Web3, that you could own the content outside of the platform. So Steam it's kind of different, because if you're trying to sell an item on a Steam platform, still Steam owns the items, they still own the exchange platform, they still the whole ecosystem. It's a walled garden. But with in Web3, potentially you could be able to get your asset, brought it to some independent platform, and transfer them and exchange them, disregard the opinion of the original creator of the item. But the thing is that you don't own the content. You only own the key to the chest where some item is contained, and you have no power over the actual content. And even
That's a very good point. Very, very good point. Yeah.
and as a developer, I could change it whatever the way I like to change it. Now it's a super powerful gun that's OP in the game. That's the best gun in the game, and then next day I nerf it, and it's nothing, and it's worth nothing. And you don't have any actual control over your content.
And it was
Not
actually in
only
Team Fortress 2, actually, when you have a lot of chests with weapon, and after new season you have new weapon, and all the weapons not so good, but still you could sell it in the Steam for some money, actually. And also, I think I will be conservative, but also here a question of safety. For example, on a Steam and a Steam owner, I think it's really hard to take away your item. But we already heard a lot of cases in NFTs when just your key and your NFT was vanished, actually.
not only the developers can take away or change the value of the item that you own, but also the platforms and the wallets can do pretty much anything they want. So we have seen quite recently the examples of that, when, for example, certain exchanges can block accounts and wallets based on any factor they deem appropriate. It can be like the region, or the origin of the owner. So it's not decentralized at all. It's pretty much the same centralized entities that they are claiming to distance themselves from the original platforms. So there's nothing. I'm not a crypto expert, but it seems like, as a casual observer, to me, that there's nothing decentralized in that. And if we are considering the dream of a perfect metaverse where everyone can buy and sell digital items and own them, and they keep certain value outside of the original game or whatever project you have, and the current situation that we are nowhere close to that.
To this point, on an example of Axis Infinity. So yes, you could take your Axis or your SLP, which is a token for or access token inside Axis Infinity, and you could get it outside of the Axis of the Sky Mavis ecosystem and get it on your cold wallet. But while you're playing, while you're trading, it's all on the platform by Sky Mavis. It's actually more than that. It's on the private chain, so they control it, completely. It's on the DEX, like on the exchange platform, and it's in this way it's completely centralized. And only when you take your assets outside of their walled garden ecosystem, then you kind of own them, and you could trade them without any permission of the original creator. But the whole system, while you keep your items on the trade platform, it's centralized and it's actually owned and controlled by the developer. And,
Yeah, sounds like we're kind of probably readier to do a Web 2.5 where you can, and that's actually a very good point. I think it was brought up by Anton, is that, what you're, or probably you, Ilya, is what you're transferring is the wealth, right? It's that, is that, is not necessarily the item itself, but it's the wealth across platforms. And if you wanted to transfer that specific item, you'll only probably do it within sequels of games or within the series of games that meet in terms of design. And that seems like maybe an easier kind of intersection towards Web3, but fully as Anton was saying, to fully go Web3 and to, and to have that ideal world where you actually own the digital asset outside the um, the the platform itself is probably still far away from being done. Easier said than done in a sense. So that actually takes me to two more questions. Is one, I believe that not all countries have opened up towards crypto and blockchain technology in a sense. The regulations usually are a lot slower than the pace of kind of technological advancements. So probably in your respective countries and what you've been seeing across, from your own deal flow, what have you seen regulations happening? I can tell you, at least in UAE, with kind of the forefront on crypto and blockchain, in case the regulators working hand in hand with startups on in these two sectors, being a progressive kind of regulator. But I'm curious to know, for Web3 to go mass and to be adopted, we'll probably need the world to open up to this. Do you see that being, we're going towards there, or actually we're going behind and going backwards in a sense?
I reside in Miami, and Miami is kind of a crypto capital of United States. So it depends on not just on the country or region. It depends on the place you live, and some places are more conservative on crypto. Some places are very pro crypto, and I think that more and more countries, more and more states are, kind of understands the potential of crypto. And I actually a big believer in the crypto as a technology. I believe there will be crypto elements in games and crypto native games, and that's progress. It's kind of it'll be stupid to deny that, and I just believe we're not here yet. So it's an inevitable future. I think that the metaverse, it's an inevitable future, and I think that we just slowly getting there, and much slower than crypto enthusiasts expected and wanted to believe in that. But it's inevitable. So more and more countries, more and more states, they will realize how to regulate that. There will be some regulation, of course, because even the internet, right? So the Web 2, we started as an unregulated place, and now it's completely regulated. And the governments, even not talking about some crypto anarchist fantasies, governments have to have control over monetary system, because they would lose their power, and who control money, control the universe right now. And if, for instance, if America would lose their ability to print dollars and use dollars as a reserve currency for the world, they would lose a lot of their power in the world. They definitely don't want to do that. And I think that governments are not against blockchain as a technology. They don't just want to lose the control and the grasp of what's going on in their economies. And as soon as they will figure it out and figure it out how to regulate it without killing the very concept of blockchain and decentralization, we'll be here.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah, and question about also about the how a country's what kind of technology awareness probably they had, not how much they have, how their financial institution had developed, because it's a new technology. Still, a crypto is a technology, and when you try to implement it in your daily life or in your businesses, it's hard. Then you don't understand how it works first, and niche. Secondly, as a country, you also have own financial security, and also you need to diversify risks of harming the people just nourish, because you already had a classic financial system, and when you have some sort of additions, you should analyze everything before you add it to your daily life.
Yeah, makes sense. Anton, you wanted to say
Absolutely.
something? Yeah.
I agree with what the guys have said. And well, currently in Russia, for example, there have been some talks about whether to, allow using cryptocurrencies or ban them. And some ministries, they are for blockchain or for crypto, others are against it. But the thing is, I would not even say, Ilya has said that the Web 2 structure has been or is now totally regulated. And I would just say that maybe not even Web 2 is 100% regulated infrastructure right now. You still have different areas of the web that are not totally understood, even not only regulated but understood by the governments, like advertising or even gaming. And to say that people should just be 100% pro crypto in terms of applying it nationwide, that sounds insane to me, because a lot of people do not know, like, with the private investing thing, right? Lots and lots of people have no idea what they're doing on the markets, but they have the opportunity though through banking. And don't know what they're doing and they're losing money. Imagine what's going to happen when people have free access to crypto assets. And I understand it's one thing when wealthy digital natives know what they're doing, and they can afford themselves to lose some money on NFTs, which yesterday were which yesterday cost $1,100, and now it costs like $10. That's happened, right? But these people, they can afford that. But when we allow crypto trading and crypto assets and whatever, NFTs and Web3 economy full on nationwide, that's gonna cost a lot to regular citizens.
Yeah. No, totally. I think based on any trading that is just based on speculation and not enough utility, in a sense, is always kind of as if you're allowing everybody to gamble, in a sense, right? And that is not any different. And that in itself, even gambling, in a sense, is regulated. Uh, I'm not sure if anybody wins, but at least there is some sort of rules and regulations in that box that you need to kind of live in if you want to. And I totally agree with you there, what you said, Anton. And that is actually a very good segue towards the question that, first of all, we've seen investments in the gaming scene, from game studios to software that enable efficiencies and live ops and whatnot, and platform plays like Stream and Discord and the likes. And I'm curious, back then, and kind of understanding what makes a successful game company would have, is pretty much a bit easier in a sense, although I would like your own take on that. And then all of a sudden, open up this Web3 game scene. I'm curious to know, probably from you, Elia, first, is, when you see companies like these, what are you gauging? What are you looking for? What are some of the questions that you're trying to answer for yourself? And maybe before going to Web3, if you can tell us, when it comes to a game company in general, regardless if we're in the traditional sense, what are some of the things that you were looking for, especially that, IP and content is very subjective. What game works could be different from, what I see in my own culture and environment versus yours. So curious to know your thoughts there.
So I think that that this focus is ever changing. So every day we learn something new about the market. We learn from our peers, from the industry, and we adapt and change our strategy and change our understanding of what we're looking for. Right now, we believe in cross-platform games. We believe in user-generated content. We believe in games as toys. So you could not just burn and run through the content, but you could stick with a game for a while and play with it as a toy, and maybe bring your own narrative and like when you're playing with a toy soldiers and stuff. And we believe in cooperation gameplay, where you could play with your friends, and not necessarily competitive gameplay or violent games or games like shooting games. There are a lot of possibilities for collaboration and just hanging out together without shooting each other. And we also believe in hypercore concept. By hypercore, I mean deep mechanics, but in an approachable form. So, for instance, there on the market there are a genre that is called forex strategy. So it's super hardcore strategy designed for strategic masterminds and how to get it together with a large group of people and compete for some territory and stuff like that. Those games are super deep and super deeply monetized, and there are whales spending hundreds of thousands of dollars inside those games. But the thing is that those games are super complex and super unfriendly to new players, and it will find a way how to make it approachable for the general public and kind of open this kind of fun to the general public. That would be a breakthrough. And that could be done with different genres, different conceptions. Just make something that is fun, that's niche, and try to make it global, try to make it approachable for the general audience.
Elia, I'm going to stick with you for a moment just to kind of build on this, and then Gregory, you can tell me your 2 cents after. Is with this concept of fun, have we come to a point where we can kind of measure fun, right? Is there a systematic way to figure out if something is fun or not, as a standard, right, across all?
Uh, this question for Gregory or for me?
For you, Ilya, and then Gregory. I thought I made you speechless.
Okay. No. Of course, the fun is subjective. But I believe that in a good game, monetization is representative for fun. There are games that are fun and are good games that monetize poorly, but I never saw a game that makes a lot of money that is naturally not fun or bad in general. So if you see the game that makes a lot of money, it is fun, but by default, there is no other way.
Or
Uh,
traction, that could be like users coming in back, and it can be a free game in a sense, but just brings
uh,
in tons
yeah,
of recurring.
free game, it could be a free access game, but none of the service or game is free. Even Facebook, you are an asset on Facebook, right? It's not free. And in a game, in free game, it's really costly to run a free game, right? So you have to make money out of it. And but other like some proxy metrics are engagement. So it's not even retention by days, by the play time. So how much time players spend in your game and how sticky it is, and what's the rate, how this engagement rate declines over time. So that's how we could measure that this game has potential even before it's properly monetized.
Yeah. So the first 7 days, in a sense, retention rates, and we're kind of measuring the second day retention rate.
Yeah.
Gregory, what are your thoughts there?
Uh, in addition to, yeah, if you're talking about, for example, about premium games, which you should do, it's probably not a question about retention. If, for example, it's not online game, but single one. But of course, it's understanding the average session, how much time the player spend in a game. Because, for example, if it's like RPG for like in 80 hours gameplay, and the people just play like 10 or 15 hours, and that's all, and just keep the game. So the question, how do you need as such a lot of content, or is the game really fun, of what the problems of a game. And of course, it's a question of how many people actually playing the game, because there was a lot of cases then the game was good, quality of game good, and studio has really good track record, but the game was not so fun. And on overall, in the first day you have, I don't know, like 2 or 10,000 people playing, but after 1 week it's only 100 people. It actually happened with last game of Platinum Games, Babylon Falls, something like that. It was like online competitive game, and currently they're shutting down the servers actually because nobody likes it. But the quality and budget was probably not a small one.
Anton.
It's a little bit an ephemeral thing to talk about, because fun is so subjective. I mean, there are different types of gamers, and be it mobile, PC, and console. For example, I have a colleague who is a very competitive gamer, and he enjoys Battlefield. He enjoys Mr. Autofire on mobile, and he's always in the top leagues, and that's fun for him. And of course, you can measure it by retention, by D7 or whatever. But there are some other types of players who do not value competitiveness or like exploration. They value narrative, like
the storyboard.
Yeah, I'm a
big
fan of the Last of Us 1 and 2 franchise and games, and you don't see anything competitive there. And I'm not sure that's the point there. And the fun in the game is the narrative, is the story. And I'm also a big fan of Royal Match, which does not monetize super heavy on you. And I actually haven't, my wife hasn't spent a single dollar in it, but she's on the, I don't know, level 1,500 or whatever. So that's a very subjective thing.
Is that you trying to keep her busy, Anton? I'm not sure what you're doing there.
I've got nothing to do with this. I just I've shown her the game once. And
phenomenal.
Yeah, and the guys are of course right when it comes to the metrics, but that's a very philosophical, I would say, thing to discuss, and many game designers have argued about that, whether you can measure fun or not, and what is fun, and because what's fun for you cannot be fun for me, and vice versa. And for example, I've recently played a game on PlayStation which is called Cult of the Lamb, and it's an indie game, and it's very good. It has very original ideas and very peculiar design. But once you get for example, once I got the gist of the game, once I got the idea, it instantly became boring to me. I could not finish it, and I will probably finish it, but it's not as fun for me as it was in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Although it has all the values of a fun game, generally speaking.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there is something there that you wanted to say.
No, I think we covered all of possible definitions of fun.
So what I hear here is a storyboard kind of fun could be measured through either retention or the monetization aspect of a game, which makes total sense. But then the difficult part would be kind of coming in super early when you've got only a bunch of talent, or maybe co-founders coming in and saying, hey, we want to develop this game, help fund us, right? And what would you do then? And what would you be looking at when there is zero retention figures?
Okay, so making innocent decisions is kind of for teaching the neural network. So I've been making games for 15 years, and I've been playing games for my whole life, and I'm in video games investment business for 5 years. So I saw some examples of what kind of games could be successful and why some other games fail. And there are some measurable things, such as the budget, such as market analysis, like is there a place for the game like that? And there's some, subjective things like, founders' energy, how clearly they could communicate their vision for the game. some non-verbal, body language things that make me confident or unconfident about this opportunity. And I think that it's impossible to predict if the game would become a massive hit and would become successful. It's
Even with true retention figures, correct? Yeah.
even with retention figures, even if it's already making money, you cannot say if it's gonna be a $1 billion hit game. But you with a decent degree of confidence, you could say if it's not gonna be a hit game. And we could miss something, but when we think that it's not a good deal for us, there's a really low error rate. So because that some signs, when we see it, you know that there is something wrong with it, and you should skip it. But when you kind of get divide all the pipeline into two groups, that there is we see a potential here and we don't see a potential here, even if we're wrong. And if we will be choosing not from hundreds of companies but from 10 companies, right, the success rate would be much higher. So we obviously we would make mistakes and skip some promising opportunities that we should have been invest, and we'll invest in something that we should not invest in. But because of this background experience, because of this player experience, the success rate is expected to be much higher than random.
And would you say, and Grigory, maybe you can tap into this, would you say that is maybe another kind of reason why you would maybe prefer to back a gaming studio rather than maybe a sole kind of franchise in itself, or an idea itself? There's this notion that you can design multiple games, and how does it change the deal dynamic there when you're backing a studio? Are you just backing one game, or are you backing multiple games? How does it work?
So as a fund, we backing not only one game, we backing the whole studio. We believe not in the product but in team. That the team could, in the long run, develop not only one successful game but several, like a lot. If we were a publisher, of course, for publishers, it's mostly a question of the game. If the game was good, then they're happy. And after, if they see potential in the studio, they could also have a long-term partnership. For example, as I was Take-Two and Gearbox when I started publishing first Borderlands, and currently they still publishing Borderlands series of games. Regarding your question, when we invest, it also really depends on the studio experience and studio background. For example, if it's a small team and they that have really top-notch AAA games in their background and they have really good achievements, for us it will be important to see some sort of already probably vertical slice of a game or sort of concept to understand how it will feel, how it will look playable, because without any mechanics, if it's just like text, it's really hard to understand that with even our imagination. But for example, studio already has really good background and they understand what we want to do, and they know their niche, they know the genre, they know that we doesn't have such budgets, we don't have hundreds of people, but we will make it smaller initially. But if we'll make it, we could grow bigger. And if when you talk with people, you can also believe in idea actually.
Yeah.
So it's mostly a question of experience and understanding of the market.
Well noted, Grigory. Anton, any last thoughts then?
Yeah, so I fully support the idea of backing the whole team and not just a certain project, and that makes total sense to me, because after all, games are made by people and are played by people, and if you believe in the team and you have the gut feeling that this is the project you want to invest in, or maybe vice versa, that you understand that even though the metrics are good, but the team is not so good, and maybe there are certain vibes that you do not feel, then maybe you should not do that. So we have a fund as well, and the guys, of course, know it. they both have worked there, so in GDC, and it's pretty much the same philosophy there. So everybody is first looking at the people, at the team, and only then. Maybe they're first looking at the product, of course, and not the team, but you get the idea. After all,
They come together. Yeah.
Everything has to sum up. Everything has to come together, as you have said. Absolutely right.
Love it. And this, guys, unfortunately, we've come to an end there. But Ilya, Gregory, Anton, obviously looking forward to seeing you guys very soon. Ilya, probably you have a trip to the region very soon, so looking forward to it. And meeting Maria as well. Gregory, Anton, always a pleasure. We just a shameless plug. Obviously, we have Invest Game and the Games Fund, all the experts as part of the Shift Build program by Shorooq Partners, where we incubate game tech companies across the region. So we're proud and humbled to have their support. And if you're part of the program, you'll probably hear them speak and you get to their knowledge on the sector. And if you want to know a whole lot more about Shift Build program, visit Shorooq.com. Shorooq, that's SHOROOQ.com, or just reach out to us. Thank you so much all for listening and tuning in today, and wish you all the best.